I'm Lorrie. I'm an artist based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I use the method of fluid painting to create my art. And I love fluid painting for a few reasons. There are no strict rules in fluid painting. I can be as creative as I want. I just follow guidelines that help me to create beautiful art. I love that I can go out into the studio and I can be feeling all kinds of things and process that while I'm painting. The methodology or the method of fluid painting gives me that space where I can flow and move and feel and also create at the same time, and then come out with beautiful art in the end and a more whole heart. It's just an amazing experience. There's a lot of experimenting in fluid painting, which I feel is really fun. I have a science background, so I love the experimental aspect of fluid painting. I love that there's not a right or wrong way to paint in fluid painting. I'm not trying to make a tree look like a tree. I'm not trying to paint a bird that looks like the bird that I'm seeing. I had tried that in the past and just determined this is not for me. I don't have the skill set or the desire to learn how to paint a realistic tree or bird or whatever it might be. I come from a family of artists, that my mom's an art teacher, an incredible artist. My husband's an incredible artist. My grandmother was an amazing artist, great-grandmother. So a lot of people think, well, then you just come from this generation of artists, so you have all this, natural ability. I don't think that's really what drives my art or even gives it the appeal that it has. I think that realizing that I'm creative because I'm designed by the creator to be creative was a huge unlock for me. I remember reading that in a book by Teresa Dedman called Born to Create, and she says that you're by design creative, and it just shifted something for me in that moment of, wait, I am designed to be this way. And so fluid art gives me that space to express myself, to experiment, find new ways to create, and new designs and new happy accidents like Bob Ross talked about. So that's really one of the reasons I love fluid art. I also love that I can process what's going on in life. I can process my emotions. I can be angry and go paint. I can feel sad and go paint. I can feel joy and paint. I can feel all those things at one time and paint and come out with beautiful art in the end, and also feel refreshed and like I've spent some time honoring my heart. And that's just a beautiful part of fluid painting. Now there are certain skills that you have to develop to create beautiful fluid art, because the consistency of the paint, for instance, has to be the right consistency. If it's too thin, your colors are going to get muddied and it's going to just not create beautiful designs. If the paint is too thick, then it's not going to move on the canvas, and then the colors and paints aren't going to combine either. So really the combination and the consistency is so important. But once that skill is mastered, the rest is a lot of experimenting, and I can just flow freely in that experimentation and create beautiful, beautiful art. I have taught many others how to fluid paint, even people that are retired who have never thought that they were creative, and it's amazing to see the face that they make when they start to paint and see just this gorgeous painting that's coming from their hands. And then many of them will continue to paint on their own, and they call it therapy. And it's such a joy to me to be able to share that with them, for them to realize you can be creative. You can even paint and be creative. There's so many ways to be creative. You can cooking can be creative. Even math is creative. But so many people don't think that they can create beautiful works of art. And that seems like it's off the table for many people in their mindset. And fluid art is a great way to realize that even creating visual art is something that's accessible to anybody. I like to start off my sessions with people with really accessible methods. And that helps just to unlock that mindset of like, wow, I can create something beautiful. And it's one of my greatest joys to do that. It helps people get out of that side of their brain that has to be logical and has to perform well and needs to make sure that they've got everything, all their ducks in a row. And this is a space where they can just be free and create just for the sake of creating and expressing. Nothing has to be done to sell or give or even hang on the wall. It can just be a place of expressing yourself and honoring the creativity that you have that needs to come out. And I believe that it'll change the world for people to really tap into that creativity that's part of who we are, part of our nature, part of our design is to be creative and release these creative parts of us out onto canvas. So I'm just super passionate about getting to share that with whoever will give it a try. And I know it takes bravery. There's people that have heard things like, oh, you're not creative, you're not an artist. Maybe they've told themselves that, or maybe someone else has told them that. And that can be a real barrier and a really big challenge for people to get past that in their mindset to even try. But I have been just blown away by seeing the amazing bravery that people have to let go of control and just try the fluid painting process. And the letting go of control is another aspect that can be really challenging. There's so many things in life that are rigid that we know if I do A plus B equals C. But with fluid art, every painting is going to look different. Even my paintings, I might go in with the same colors, the same paints that I used yesterday, the same technique, and I'll come out with a different result. Some of that is just me moving with the paint, me kind of partnering with the paint to see what it's going to do and then rolling with that instead of I'm going to paint this tree and it's going to look like this and I'm going to come out with a tree. I go in with maybe some colors I want to use, but the most of that is just flowing. And it's so freeing for people to realize that they can just go into this process and flow and then come out with these beautiful results. And many people call it a therapy session because they're letting go of control every time. You really cannot control the paint and what it's going to do. You can guide it. There are ways that you can move the paint and get certain results, but it's always going to be a little different than what you thought it was going to be. You're going to lose designs that you thought were beautiful and then create new designs. And it's so much a parallel to life. We can go in thinking life is going to look like this and I'm going to do this. And then life happens and things don't always turn out the way we think they will, but there's still beauty in the journey and beauty in the process. And I can look back at my life and see how the Lord has wasted nothing of my journey. And even the hard things, I don't believe that He designs the hard things for me to go through, but I do believe that He will make it work for my good. Because He promises that He will make everything work for our good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So I see that. I see that in my journey. I never thought I'd be an artist. It was never even on my radar until just a few years ago. And that's just part of the journey. So I want to encourage you to try something new. Try fluid art. Just see what it's like for you and keep pressing in on it.